There have long been fears that using mobile phones can increase your risk of cancer. But a review commissioned by the World Health Organization and led by Australian scientists has found that there is no link between the disease and mobile phones. Associate Professor Ken Karapides is from the Australian Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency and is the study's lead author. Good afternoon to you, Ken. So how did you determine that mobile phones don't cause cancer?
Our systematic review looked at research that has been done for the last 28 years. It included 63 studies. So when we combined all these studies together, our review found no association between mobile phone use and a range of cancers. Further to that, our review found no association with using a mobile phone for a long time, such as longer than 10 years. And it also found no association with the amount of mobile phone, including number of calls or the time that you spent on the phone.
Okay, so the idea that phones could cause cancer came because they use high-frequency radio waves or radiation, which itself is a loaded word. But even organisations like the WHO have said in the past that exposure is a possible carcinogen for cancer. So what's changed?
The classification of radio waves being possibly carcinogenic came about due to earlier studies, which had quite a few problems. Now, since that time, there's been a lot more studies that have been a lot more comprehensive. And when we look at the older studies and the newer studies in combination, our systematic review doesn't find an association with brain cancer.
Okay. So what about mobile phones used by children then, Ken? Their skulls are softer. Is it the same conclusion, no link to head or neck cancer?
Yeah, that is correct. So there was a number of studies that looked specifically on children, and we also reviewed those studies. And similarly, we didn't find an association between mobile phone use and pediatric brain tumours.
And has there been any appreciable increase in the numbers of head or neck cancers since mobile phones became mainstream, over the last 30 or so years?
Yeah, it's quite interesting that another study that we did actually back in 2018 in Australia, what we found was that although mobile phone use has skyrocketed, I mean, the first mobile phone came into existence in the late 1980s, but since that time, mobile phone use has skyrocketed, whereas the brain tumour rates, both for males and females, has remained quite stable. So it's quite reassuring to see that the results of our systematic review align with what other research says about the incidence of brain cancer, where it doesn't actually see any increases.
Right. So you looked to see if there was any connection between radio waves and cancer. You found none. Does that go for everything that uses wireless technology, including mobile phone towers?
Yes, so we also did look at exposure from mobile phone towers and broadcast towers, including TV and radio broadcast towers, and it was the same result. There was no association between telecommunications towers and any of the brain tumours that we're mentioning.
Ken Karapides, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.